Hello there, negative Nancy Reagans. In this video I want to talk about what I don't like about Earth Defense Force Iron Rain. Just before I get started, I just want to mention that I love EDF. I've loved it since EDF 2017. I played the demo on Xbox 360, and ever since then I just fell in love with the games. My favorite game probably was EDF 4 for the longest time until 5 came out, and then just when I thought they couldn't surpass 4, they actually surpassed it in 5, and I was very, very happy with it, and it's probably definitely one of my favorite game series. For this video, these are not going to be things that I take lightly, that I just kind of don't care for, such as, like, one example that would be all the PA gear using all weapons. I don't really care for that, but it's not something that I want to cover in this video. This is more of things that I really think fail to bring the EDF experience, or things that I feel hold the game back from being a very good EDF game. Also, I want to say at the beginning, I'm not making this video to disrespect the work put into this title, but I'm wanting to try and bring constructive criticism in hope that to seeing a sequel in the future, and that the sequel has more depth to it, and more longevity, at least in my view. And also, as always, I like to have a conversation in the comments, so please let me know what you think about the game. And I'm interested, like I said, I read all my comments, and I try to reply to anything that was asked for me. So, anyway, let's get started. Recently, as I've been playing putting more time into this game. That's why I wanted to release this video a little bit later, because I wanted to have enough time put into it first. I found that I haven't been enjoying this as much as EDF 5, and that was kind of strange to me because, for one, I think this game has better weapons than EDF 5, maybe not across the board, but for the most part. I think the classes are more unique. I mean, I'd not necessarily say I like them better than EDF 5, but I will say they're more unique and they have more interesting feel to them. There's also better enemy variety, in my opinion, in this game than EDF 5. However, I will say the colonists and cosmonauts are my favorite. There's cool set pieces in this game. It has better visuals. It has a nice upgrade system, which I like. So I was trying to figure out what the problem was as to why I didn't really care for this game, and I'm not having as much fun with EDF 5. And I think I was talking with a friend recently that we both love the game. And I think we found the problem, and that would be the missions. This game, EDF is a wave-based shooter, yes, but there's more to it than you initially would see, perhaps. One thing I've noticed in EDF Iron Rain is a very similar mission structure, and that is you spawn in, pretty much most of the time everything sees you, you have a couple of waves, and it's over. And due to the size of the map, you can't really have too much of an interesting mission design. Think about EDF 4 and EDF 5. The differences in those games were, yeah, they're wave-based shooters, but you would spawn in, a lot of times you would see something out in the distance, like you'd see a bunch of ships or a bunch of pillars, you'd see enemies patrolling around, you'd see shield screens or mechanics where if you kill X enemy then Y comes out, so you have to pull the drones first or pull the cosmonauts first carefully and then go on to the next phase. You decide how to tackle the mission. It's not just survive a couple of waves. There is a lot more strategy in EDF 5, and I think the bigger maps allow that freedom of approach. It allows you to not be so confined into this arena type fighting, and it doesn't feel so cramped. And that is the big difference, I think, that why I'm not enjoying this game as much. The 6 players is cool, but the problem is with the map size being so small and the missions being so short, it's kind of frustrating because 6 players can kill these enemies very, very quickly, and you sometimes find yourself not being able to find an enemy to kill yourself, or just it being way too short because of having 6 guns on the map. There's a lot of times after I finish a mission in Iron Rain where I wish they just added a few more waves. I mean, it didn't seem like it would be too challenging just to make it last a little bit longer than 5 minutes, 7 minutes. I think that is a big problem of the enjoyment of this game, and it's very disappointing to me. I would like there to be more depth to the missions and more strategy involved, and as it is, it's just feels more like a survival horde mode rather than a mission structure. Like I said before, I love the weapons. The weapons are great. The unlock system is great. The classes I like. The enemies I love. The locations, the varied locations you head to are really great. They have a great foundation, I think, for the future, but problem is the main part of the game is the missions, and if the missions are very average or very short, then you're not going to have longevity of the game. I really do hope there is a sequel, but I would definitely want more strategy involved in the missions like in EDF 4 or 5. And in order to do this, I really think that a map size is required, a larger map size, because like I said, you can't have that depth where you can tackle different objectives and have a larger just set piece out in the map, and you decide how you want to tackle it. You know, that is going to require a larger map size, and that I think is something they struggle with, having to deal with a smaller map size in this game. Now let's move on to some side things that aren't as big of an issue as the missions, and that would be the story. The voice acting's fine, but the lines written that were given to the voice actors are too generic. I don't think, because they're trying to aim for a Western audience, I don't think the West needs another generic military story. I really don't. I think EDF is unique in how its dialogue is written, and I think that would actually shine more in the West, in just the many games that are out, released every week. I think the EDF dialogue, that the traditional mainline, the way they go in the mainline series, would shine a lot more and make a lot more attention than just another generic storyline. I think what would stand out, it would be something that's not going for too serious. EDF dialogue, to me, usually involves the soldiers that behave like innocent children, who try hard to be the best. They think they're the best. They think they're very good fighters, and they don't question headquarters instructions, even though it may be suspect. But they think they're such good fighters, and it just comes off funny when you see just how poorly they actually perform. Just jamming their reloads, always complaining about their armor, and just different funny things like that. I think the best idea they ever came up with, and I hope that they continue this in the future, at least in the mainline series, is having soldiers ask each other random questions with random answers, because that really produces a great random silliness without feeling manufactured. And I think that a game like this could have really benefited from that, even though it's a different take on the EDF series. I still think they should continue with the dialogue choices of EDF 4 and 5, honestly. And I wouldn't mind if they copied that, because I think that, like I said, it would shine better in this sea of mini games we have that come out every week, And I've heard no complaints personally, but only praise for the dialogue in EDF 4 and 5, everybody that plays it, so I don't think that they needed to change the dialogue options, honestly, in this game. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is multiplayer. I could be wrong, but I don't think the West needs another multiplayer PvP game, especially in an EDF title. I think there's too many good multiplayer-focused games to gain an audience, and I think that, even if you had a couple people enjoy the multiplayer, I don't think there's going to be enough of a community to last long enough. I think EDF game would actually benefit best with a survival mode, or a wave, because it is a wave-based shooter. I was thinking they could pull some ideas from like Diablo rifts, or just replay missions with different enemy spawns or random spawns with increased difficulty the deeper you go, which will give you stronger loot the deeper you make it. Or even perhaps, make it so that weapons can only be attained from playing these certain rifts and defeating certain bosses deep inside. Or what about leaderboards in a survival mode as well? I just think survival mode just makes a lot more sense in an EDF game than multiplayer PvP. And also, just an aside, I love survival modes, and just please don't ever make a survival mode last longer than an hour or two. Make it more scored on time and accuracy or chain kills, etc., so that the score will be based on skill and not attaining a wave, or a longest time, because there's nothing worse, at least from my experience, other people that I talk to that love survival games, there's nothing worse than having a survival mode where you actually can survive for like 24 hours or 32 hours, because then it just becomes who can stomach playing the game the longest to get on the leaderboards, rather than having like a one-sitting 1 hour session where it's based on skill and trying to chain kills, or trying to have different tactics of surviving the longest. Anyway, but That would be my my second thing is the PvP. My next thing I'd like to head on to is the sound design of the weapons. I think, at least especially the machine guns and the shotguns, they have no impact with their sound, and it really makes the game not as enjoyable because of just the weapons are strong enough, yes, but the impact and the sound of it doesn't make you feel like they're very strong. They don't feel very impactful, and I think that's also an issue with this game. And as I already mentioned before, map size and mission length is definitely something that I think is a thing that needs to change for sure in the future. I mean, if anything, just add a few more waves or make the waves longer or something. But 5 minutes, 7 minutes, when the load screen is like 30 seconds, I just don't think that that's a very good idea, and I think that's something that really hurt the game. The next thing I want to talk briefly about is the chat presets. If you played any EDF titles in the past, like EDF 4 or 5, you know that you can press right on the D-pad, and you have all kinds of options to talk to the people in the game. And I didn't realize I enjoyed that so much until when I didn't have it in Iron Rain. The game feels a lot lonelier. It feels a lot just less of a community. I think the EDF community has become a very communicative. I can't even say that word. The EDF community has become a very communicating group just because of the chat presets of the past. And I think that just having the option to say a simple thank you or I apologize or do some kind of, mention some kind of tactics in the chat menus is a really big part of the EDF community. And I think that, I know I certainly miss having the option to be able to communicate so easily with each other. So that's something I definitely like to see in the future brought over from the EDF games. Of course, that would be the last thing I wanted to talk about pretty much. The other things, like I said, are just trivial things that aren't huge deals, but I think, like I said, the biggest problem, I think, is the missions, in my opinion. And of course, like I said, this is just my opinion, and also of another EDF fan that I talk to frequently is also his opinion. But like I said, please let me know your views in the comments, and just how you think this game turned out, and did it meet your expectations, or just, if it didn't meet your expectations, what was the reason for that? I like to have a conversation about that. Overall, I still think this is a decent game. I'm glad I bought it, and I look forward to the DLC packs, but I don't think it's going to have the longevity by any means compared to like EDF 5, and that's something very disappointing to me. So that's what I was hoping for, the change in this new take on the EDF series. So yeah, that'll be all for this video. Once again, thanks a lot for watching. And remember, EDF doesn't leave a man behind. It's for real. And if you're interested in ways to support the channel, please consider hitting the join button next to the subscribe button, or sharing the channel with someone, or watching a few ads, as it does help financially. It's very much appreciated. Hope to see you on the next one. Thanks.